So right at the end of his life, Martin Luther King started a thing called the Poor People's Campaign. And it was the thing that was really the most offensive to the establishment because he was demanding economic justice. Our friend Matt Orfala, who has a great YouTube channel, put together a video about it, and I want to show it to you. Here's some of it right here.
Last 2 months of his life, Dr. King faced the idea that civil rights alone could not solve the problem of poverty. He roamed the South, trying to gain support for Poor People's Campaign. Its goals: full employment, a guaranteed income, and decent housing for every American.
The campaign would recruit among all races, bring them to Washington, force the government to respond, a nonviolent army of the poor.
All working together to solve the problem of poverty. We're tired of working full-time jobs for part-time income, and we are tired of not being able to find work. And it didn't cost the nation 1 penny to integrate lunch counters. It didn't cost the nation 1 penny to guarantee the right to vote. Now we are dealing with issues that cannot be solved without the nation spending billions of dollars and undergoing a radical redistribution of economic power. Yes. If our nation can spend $35 billion a year to fight an unjust, evil war in Vietnam and $20 billion to put a man on the moon, it can spend billions of dollars to put God's children on their own 2 feet right here on earth. This is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, we're coming to get our check. Very frankly, this is a search for an alternative to riots. The riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if a man doesn't have a job or an income, he has neither life nor liberty and the possibility for the pursuit of happiness. He merely exists. We are demanding an emergency program to provide employment for everyone in need of a job.
So that's a great video by Matt Orfala, and that gives you a little bit of an idea what this Poor People's Campaign was about. It was about, hey, we're the richest country in the world, spending billions on war. It's about the time we invest some billions in our people. And now I'm going to bring on to talk about this someone who's working. Well, right now, this is from The Nation. The Poor People's Campaign is changing the moral narrative of Congress. And there's Reverend Barber, who did Moral Mondays, and he's now working with a couple different organizations. Well, right now, Nick Brana, I'm going to bring on, who's working with the Poor People's Campaign. He's starting the Movement for a People's Party. They're working together. He's going to come on right now and explain more of it. He's here with us right now. Nick Brana. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. Great to be with you. Pretty good.
So tell me, Nick, what is the Poor People's Campaign? Who's working on it? And what progress have you made?
Yeah, the Poor People's Campaign is the revival on the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's final organizing effort from 1968. And that is, at the end of his life, Martin Luther King came to the conclusion that we needed a multiracial fusion moral movement that united people, working people from all walks of life, to come together to Washington, D.C. and protest the conditions that people were living in, to really create to push for things like a federal jobs guarantee, a universal basic income, an end to discriminatory practices. And that is the Poor People's Campaign that is happening now is a revival of that by Reverend Liz Theo-Harris and Reverend William Barber. So they have brought that back, and they're hosting 40 days of action right now. And we are nearing the final week of the 40 days of action of the Poor People's Campaign, in which they've been in Washington, D.C. every single Monday, having civil disobedience actions. And by this point, there have been more than 2,000 people who have been arrested nationwide, which makes it the largest nationwide civil disobedience action in U.S. history. And it's going to culminate on June 23rd with a final rally with tens of thousands of people on the National Mall.
That's June 23rd. Is that what you said?
Yep, June 23rd.
So what is the goal of the Poor People's Campaign? What is the short-term goal and the long-term goal? And what did you hope to accomplish with this 40 days of action?
So as the Movement for a People's Party, we're national organizers, we're national partners with the Poor People's Campaign. It's a great honor to be working with them in organizing this. It's a very inspiring campaign and moral turn, really. The right has hijacked kind of the religious and moral imperative for a long time in the U.S., and this is about taking that back. And so the objective is to really create a mass movement of poor people to demand an end to the conditions that we live in today. And so, I mean, it's a push for racial equality. It is a push for jobs for everyone. It is a push to end, and this is something that very few groups do now, to end militarism and the war machine, to dismantle the U.S. empire. And so that it's a long-term, multi-year movement that they are building. And these 40 days of action that have been happening now in direct action protests at the U.S. Capitol and at state capitals across the country in more than 37 states, that is just the beginning. It is really something, this is a launch, so to speak, of the Poor People's Campaign. And from here on out, it's going to go on to continue organizing towards those ends. And also, one of the things that made us get involved, Jimmy, is that Reverend Barber has said before, and he talks about how the change that we need is not necessarily, elect more Democrats and that's going to solve all of your problems. He has said that the change that we need is not red to blue, but it is wrong to right. And he has said that he has pointed out, as you have before, that when the Democrats have had full control over government, they haven't done a damn thing. They have not dismantled the anti-labor, union laws. They have not taken serious action on climate change. They did not break up the banks, and so he has pointed that out. And so he said that what we need, he is remaining independent now, and that's why we're working with him.
Does he have a list of demands? Are there like 10 demands they want to see?
There are. There's an extensive list. It's a long list of demands, and it's on the website, poorpeoplescampaign.org.
So can you like crystallize their demands so it's easier for people to understand? Because right now it seems very vague.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned some of them. Jobs for everyone. And they support specific policies, which is why we're working with them as well. So in terms of jobs for everyone, a federal jobs guarantee, a universal basic income. They point out that there is more spending going towards the military today than there is towards social programs, and so reducing the military budget substantially and rediverting that to social programs, to things like CHIP, to things like WIC.
So do they have a number they want to reduce the military budget by? Because I do.
I have not heard a number. But it should be tremendous, because for just a fraction of the military budget, we could end hunger worldwide or poverty worldwide.
Yes. Well, the figures that we've cited here at the Jimmy Dore Show, it takes $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States, $33 billion to end world hunger. And here we are spending an extra $200 billion on our military over and above what we were spending at the height of the Iraq War. So we have a 40% increase in our Pentagon budget since the height of the Iraq War. People don't realize that. Not only, so we were supposed to be getting a peace dividend under Bill Clinton, which quickly turned into an exploding Pentagon budget. So, I'm of course a support. I love Reverend Barber. I love his Moral Mondays. I love this idea. And so basically, you're just trying to raise consciousness and people's. It would be helpful, I think, to narrow down their focus. To say they have a laundry list of things. Like if you could, like just 3 things. Like we have to reduce the Pentagon budget by half. We have to invest that money back here, and a living wage or something. Just you have to, because if people you talk about Bernie, people know a free college, Medicare for all, and a living wage. They know immediately that's what he's for. So it would be helpful, I think, if people go, oh, the Poor People's Campaign, they want a living wage, Medicare for all, and the military budget, or break up something. It has to be able, people can be easily gotten. So that's my advice, but what do I know? So how can people help? They can go to the website, right?
They can go to the website, and right now you can email your particular state as well. If you email the name of your state and at poorpeoplescampaign.org, you can get involved that way. You can contact your state and join the protests. They've also been having, it's not just direct actions, they've also been having each week on Thursdays. They get together, and it's a celebration of the movement with music. It's more of a festival, theomusicology. On Tuesdays they have Tuesday teach-ins, and so they get together and they discuss these issues as a whole and build consciousness, in a kind of like a town hall setting. So those are the things that the 40 days have been doing. But right now, it's about bringing as many people to the National Mall as possible. There will be something of like a resurrection city, similar to the way that there was in 1968. It won't last for months as it did before, but there will be a big tent on the National Mall, and people will be occupying the National Mall. They'll be spending the night there. So that is something that people should also participate in the lead up to the 23rd. It's about making this major show of strength on the 23rd for this movement now.
Okay, so everybody can go. So if you live in Iowa, you go Iowa at poorpeoplescampaign.com
Right.
or .org.
In order to get involved, yeah. And there's rideshare programs and that kind of thing to get to Washington, D.C. on the 23rd for the mass rally.
Okay, so that sounds like it'll be fun. June 18th here in California, there's a rally at the Capitol in Sacramento. I know that. That's really all I could find out that was happening in California. So, all right, Nick, we wish you best with the Poor People's Campaign and Reverend Barber, and we'll try to raise the people's awareness of it. June 23rd is the big rally at the mall, so hopefully people can show up for that. And boy, I'd like to be able to make that too if we could. So Nick Brana doing great work. The next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, July 15th in Chicago, and July 27th in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all those tickets to those shows. Plus, don't forget, become a patron to help support independent media. We give you hours of bonus content every week. Plus, every Saturday at 2 p.m., we do our Solid Chat Saturday. It's our live stream on Saturdays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Stick around for that. And please make sure you're subscribed. Even though you think you are subscribed to this channel, they're unsubscribing people every day. Just check. Click subscribe and then click the bell to make sure they send you a notification when we're dropping videos. Otherwise, they won't tell you. Thanks for your support.